Hey, welcome back to the Malm Podcast. I'm Joel here with Dad.
And I'm Rick. And what do we want to talk about today? I guess we're going to continue on our book, right? Walking through the clouds, hiking the clouds.
We are trucking through the first draft of my book, Hiking the Clouds. Since we've started this, I've actually edited it quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's probably even better than what you read, actually.
I'll bet. And now we're actually in the clouds part. The first part was pretty, we could see where we're going, but now we're pretty in the cloudy part, right?
Yeah. So
we're stumbling along.
I'm not I've recapped on every episode what the book's
go back
about.
And listen to it again.
You can go back. You're gonna have to go back and listen to it.
Yeah.
Go back and listen to the episodes because I'm not gonna recap it on this one. Takes 5 minutes of our show just to recap it. So, this chapter we're in the sequence. 2 Peter, add your faith, virtue, knowledge. Add to your knowledge, self-control. Add to your self-control, endurance, and then add to your endurance, godliness.
You're recapping.
Yes. Well, it's the verse. It's the verse. And godliness, I think one of the challenges I had in this book is kind of like the word self-control. We've all got an idea in our mind of what that is. And I kind of wanted to jolt people out of what that is. Yeah. And you commented on that. You're like, I didn't quite understand what you meant by self-control. But then I saw it as like, okay, yeah. So self-control only comes from inner transformation.
You were talking more about self-awareness.
Which leads to self-control.
And when I realized that, by being first aware, then you can self-control. Yeah. So I made the connection eventually.
Yeah.
Oh, good Yoda.
So good. So with godliness, it's the same thing. I grew up thinking a godly person is somebody, that didn't smoke or chew or go with the girls that do, right?
Walked around the peace sign a lot.
Yeah. Oh, he's a godly. Wow. Look, he's just, he had all these like super spiritual, godly people that.
Well, they blew the shofar though. Okay,
yes, they did.
We won't go there. But they did, didn't they?
Yeah. So what I concluded, I start every chapter with a quote that basically I think explains the chapter. And this is one of the best quotes I've ever read. It's by A.W. Tozer. He says this: the essence of surrender is getting out of God's way so that he can do in us what he also wants to do through us. And I think that's what picture of godliness is after you've gone through. You've learned the virtue. Yeah. You've learned the knowledge. You've come to some self-awareness. Then in the dark cave of endurance, you felt abandoned by him. And you come to this place where you're like, I don't know the first thing about serving God. And that's a really good place to be. But for most people, that's a crisis of faith that actually, oftentimes, this is where I see a lot of people start looking to Eastern mysticism because they're like, I was taught this faith is simple, but this is not, I'm not feeling any sense of assurance anymore. Everything's mystery. And I think the Eastern religions, now this is not necessarily true, Orthodox Church, which actually I guess is considered Eastern religion, they're really good at embracing the mystery of God. But I think in the West, in our rational, we've decided you can pretty much, come up with a rational explanation for everything. And the Eastern religions do a better job of kind of rolling with the mystery of that's out there. But again, I believe at its core, Christian faith has the depth you're looking for. But we never talk about that because most of what we talk about in church is for the first half of faith, which is out of necessity because that's where most people are always going to be. When you arrive at this new place of godliness, I think it's embracing paradox. It's recognizing that yes, and the answer, the biggest questions in life aren't problems to be solved with black and white. They're tension points to be managed where it's, yes, God is this, and he's also this. God is transcendent, far above you, anything you could ever understand, but he's also very close and he knows your heart and you can get, and God is, there's all those things, God is judge, but he's also kind, right? So it's all those things, and it's the willingness to live in the middle of the paradox.
And I said, and it's hard to balance that. Well, if this is true, then this can't be. Well, yes, it can be, and it to keep those juggling in your brain.
It's a sign of a first-rate intelligence.
Yeah, it was like one of those Greek philosophers said that or something, wasn't it?
I think it's actually T.S. Eliot probably.
But he always said got it from, I can't, it's EU something or other. I can't remember. It's in my head somewhere there. Used to use, anyway, but it's that idea of being able to balance the conflicts or the apparent paradoxes, the apparent things that are apparently.
F. Scott Fitzgerald, the test of first-rate intelligence.
Okay.
You ready?
Are you sure it wasn't Martin Luther King?
Okay. Eleanor Roosevelt. The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's true, and that's where you get into. You mentioned earlier. I don't think it's always been that way in the Western world, but we have, since the Enlightenment, focused on everything to be understood. If it can't be understood, it can't really exist because it's invisible, it's spirit realm, everything's material, and we can understand it. And that's what's really destroyed us because, again, the Eastern religion, Christianity is an Eastern religion.
Yeah.
And they embraced the mystery of it. They understood that you can't understand it all. But it was as soon as it got into the church, we had to figure out Trinity. They just kind of, you don't see that in the first century. They didn't really arguing a lot over that, Well,
and that's also that Greek rational logic thing where if you think this through, you can figure it out. And then the Enlightenment, we took it even more so. And the Enlightenment crept into the church.
Yeah, and so all of a sudden now, if we can't understand it, we just skip that verse.
That's true. Yeah.
But I don't know what that means.
Wait, what does that mean, Pastor?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, instead of just saying, it might mean this, it might mean that. We really don't know.
I started about 8 years ago when there was something I didn't understand. I would literally just stand up in front of the congregation and go, I have no clue what this means. I'm hoping one day I will.
Yeah.
And I have had so many people come up to me and be like, thank you for admitting that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, I'd be stupid to say I know what that means. Yeah. And even if you know what something means, do you really know what it means? Because some of the stuff that Paul says, you're like, what in the world?
Well, even Peter said he's hard to understand.
Yes.
And that's the thing with me. You can go out and you can find a commentary and they'll explain it. And I go, nah, that's not what that means. And so
yeah. And a lot of them use a very rationalistic,
You go, okay, so that kind of wings it a little bit, glances off it, but it doesn't really there's something else there,
Yeah.
And that's good when you understand that if you could wrap your brain around God, he'd be such a tiny little God, you could stick him in your pocket and walk around with him. And he is not that, he is not tame.
Yes, which is
wild.
Which ties into this word the Greek word that Peter and Paul both use for godliness is eusebia, right? And it literally means well-directed reverence, which I think of well-directed reverence as you know the kind of power you're dealing with and you stand in humility and awe of that power.
Yeah. What's the proverb somewhere that says, when you stand before God, be silent?
Yes.
Because he's God and he's in heaven and you're on the earth. And so just kind of stand there and be quiet before him,
Which I think is what allows us to actually become more present in the moment is, we talk about the importance of presence and contemplation, but I don't think you can do that until you've literally lost the ability to see ahead. And I've been kind of that way for a while now. I used to always have a 5 and a 10-year plan. And now I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. And
welcome to the world.
And I was very uncomfortable with that for a while, but now I go, hey, it's okay. I don't have to worry about the future, which I've been told that since I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to really realize what it means is there literally comes a point where, but again, to get to that point, all your illusions have to be stripped away. Any illusion you have of the ability to control God, control the outcome of your life. Now, don't get me wrong. You can do your best to keep yourself healthy, but healthy people turn up with chronic diseases.
Get run over by garbage trucks.
Yeah. And it's very humbling, but that's what I say. Basically, that's where I think Paul, I think that's where Paul, he says godliness with contentment is great gain. And, anyways, what stood out to you on that chapter?
Well, there's something you said here, and it's sort of restating what we've been talking about. It's just a quote here. The first half of faith is initiation by belief and action, trusting the insights of creeds, theologies, and others. So it's a matter of that trusting that I have a sureness that I know God exists and I know he loves me and I believe this and, I believe in God the Father, Almighty Maker of heaven and earth and all those things. And
creeds and structures, we depend on those because we don't necessarily have the inner experience yet to be driven by that.
And it's good because that's how you build a house. You first put up the solid framework and stuff like that. But then comes the stuff on it. The second half of faith is through inner experience and contemplation that only comes through loss and letting go. And that's where now, and I think that's really cool, though, the fact that you're saying, I've been told that since I'm 5, but I'm just now learning it. So what that tells me is this walk with Jesus is something, it's not going to get boring.
If you're doing it right, it shouldn't get boring.
Right. It keeps getting more and more, we're growing in it. We're changing. We're developing. We're becoming something we weren't 10 years ago or 5 years ago. And all of a sudden, and the thing is, what's really cool about it, you're now trying to pass it on to your daughter, and you're telling her, don't worry about tomorrow. And she's going, yes, Dad, sure, Dad, and realizing that there's this whole thing that God is developing within us, which I think is awesome. And we just come to where eventually we go, I don't know, Lord, but you do, and you're going to take care of me. And that sounds like day one faith.
Yeah.
But now it's a different depth of day one faith.
Which is where one of the things I talk about in this book is that Paul told Timothy, great indeed we confess is the mystery of godliness. And that Greek word mysterion is literally an initiation. You don't understand the mystery until you've been initiated into the mystery, which is where you all of a sudden face some disappointments, face some setbacks, face some of God's silence, and you go, everything I thought I knew. Like, I know he's still good and all that.
It's still true.
Yeah, it's still true. But yeah, it's nothing like I thought. You have to have been initiated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is also true. And yeah, so to me, it's pretty exciting, really, because it makes the Christian life a Christian life, a Christian growth. It's not like you've got it all checked box. And, I teach this Sunday school class, and most of the people in there have been walking with the Lord for a long time. So I get my theological cage rattled a lot when I really start digging into the Word, and I go, man, wait a minute, what does he mean by that? So I delight in rattling their theological cages too, and I tell them that. I say, look, I'm just going to throw some things out here, and in church you're not supposed to stir people up, But these are crusty old folks. They've been around a long time.
Who said you're not supposed to stir people up?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you're not supposed to throw out questions that are going to undermine their faith if they're just learning, because it's like trying to give a little kid, give them the keys to the car.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Which is why I think part of the first half of faith, the first half of faith is learning, and I think the second half in many ways is unlearning.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I just kind of, and they keep coming back, so apparently they're liking it too. We just need our cages rattled now and then, because it's so easy to think, okay, I got it down. I quit doing all those bad things I was doing, quit cussing and drinking and whatever else, and now I know I can quote the Bible verses.
I got my theology straight. It's all straight.
Right. I got all my doctrines in line, and that's it. Now I just wait till Jesus comes back.
Oh, what a boring life.
I know. That's what
a boring life.
And yet there's more. Proverbs, I think it's Proverbs, it says that it is the king's delight to conceal a matter. No, it's the God's delight to conceal a matter. Right. It's the king's to search it out.
Yeah, it's the glory of kings to search out a matter. Yeah.
So there's all these treasures that God has hidden in his word and through our life experience that only when we're willing to step out and take that risk do we get there.
But that requires a willingness to let go of our addiction to certainty. Yeah. And I think most of us would rather be right than wise.
But he has a way of ripping that out. Ripping it out from
he does, but man, we can kick against the goads.
Yeah, and then we can go back to it
As
too.
Paul says, like, Paul, why are you kicking? Dude, why you keep resisting me? Like, I'm trying to show you some new layers of truth. And then finally, he tells the guy that he goes to Paul, to the guy that Paul's going to go see, and he's like, hey, I'm going to show him how much he'll have to suffer for me. It's like, ouch.
And what's interesting is when God got Paul's attention, he was blinded.
Yep.
So here's the guy who had it all, could see it all, and all of a sudden, what an interesting thing to do to blind him.
That's a great point. When God finally got his attention, it was when he was blinded.
Yeah.
And Paul was certain up to that point, enough so that he was willing to kill Christians.
Yeah. But when he was blinded, then all of a sudden, now let me let you see. Now you're going to be able to see something. And it's interesting because like scales fell from his eyes. You go, how weird is that? All of a sudden he could see, but it was brand new.
Yeah. So one of the concerns I have about this chapter is that it gets into some stuff that we Western Christians get very nervous about. Orthodox people would be like, well, of course, the Orthodox, like the idea of everything that rises must converge, like those kind of ideas where it's like, and a lot of people in the first half of faith, they go, that's dangerous to think that way, the Orthodox actually believe in this deification, like we're literally being merged into God, and that's uncomfortable. I don't know about that, but I can see where they get that based on a lot of, Jesus said that, don't you know you're God's? Like he says that in your, what do we do with that?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of mysterious stuff in here that I write about, and I'm not trying to tick people off, but as you get into the levels of uncertainty in the first half of faith, asking those kind of questions is very disconcerting to people.
And it might be a little dangerous too at the start because you don't have the foundation.
Yeah.
Once you get the foundation of relationship with the Lord, then you can step out a little bit. You know, it's like they said in art. You know, first you have to learn the rules, then you can break the rules.
Yeah.
But you have to first of all learn the rules. Music's the same way. What's art? And so in the same way, you've got to have a foundation in the faith to know what you believe, why you believe. And that's why you add to your faith virtue, and to virtue knowledge. You have that foundation of knowledge. And the greater your foundation is, then the more of the other things you can experience as well. But, you know, I think one of the things that maybe explains it, the last 4 words in this chapter say, don't rush to explain. And I thought, that's it. That's it. We're always trying to explain. We always try to see that 2 + 2 = 4. But sometimes in the kingdom, 2 + 2, 5 loaves and 2 fishes doesn't equal 7. It equals innumerable. And so we've just got to realize God is God, we are not, and sometimes things won't make sense in our little pea brains.
Thanks for listening. Please consider sharing this with your friends on the platform of your choice. For more from Joël Malm, visit joelmalm.com. For more from Rick Malm, visit rickmalm.com. Our podcast music was produced by Alex Burleson.